Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank on the Voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. Time now for an interview segment presented by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Well, when IUP Lively Arts said that they were going to send somebody over, we were thinking it would be Kristen Kaler, but they sent over Jeff Wacker instead. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well. You know, they got to send the scrubs every once in a while. So
I wouldn't say you're a scrub. Come on. That's selling yourself short. But it's great to have you here because
it's good to be here.
Because we get to talk about something that I think is actually kind of cool with the IUP Arts program, and that is the music lessons that are being offered. I'm assuming that this is going to continue over the summer months.
IUP Community Music School is year-round. Fall, winter, spring, summer, it never ends. We're always doing music.
That's excellent. So how are classes going so far this year?
Oh, they're going great. We just wrapped up our spring semester. Went very well. The enrollment continues to kind of bump up as people are a little more comfortable coming out.
That's good.
Out of all the COVID. So right now we're in that in-between period between spring and summer, and that's where all of our instructors are able to do makeup lessons from the previous semester, which that happens.
Yeah.
And we also start summer lessons for those who really want to get started. We can do those a little early, and then May 31st is actually the start of the summer semester. And so we've already got lessons lining up for that as well.
Now, were you able to hold recitals for these for the spring sessions?
Funny you should mention that.
No, I just remember when I took piano lessons, we always had recitals.
Yeah, well, we did when I was a kid as well. And we had enough students this spring to do 2 recitals.
Excellent. That's good to hear.
So April 30th, we had a Saturday afternoon recital with just about 20 kids. Drum set, clarinet, voice, piano, a whole bunch of things. And then a week later, Mother's Day, May 8th, had another afternoon recital. And again, we had about 17 kids, so almost 35, 40 kids in recitals this year.
That's a great present for Mother's Day, being able to get up there and perform something like that. Now, we should mention, you say kids. This is not just for young children or young students who are learning, or even the college-age students. This is for everybody in the community.
This is everybody, young to old. We've got kids who are as young as 5 and 6 years old. It's a great time to start piano and start looking at music. All the way up into adults who have retired, and maybe they played when they were a kid, but they haven't played for a long time, or maybe they've always wanted to. Everything in between, we teach lessons, and of course have some ensembles available.
That's excellent. So if anybody wants to take advantage of this, I'm pretty sure have an instrument in mind, or a sphere of a school of teaching in mind, I guess, whether it be voice or instrument, and get a hold of you or somebody over at the music school.
No, actually would be just me.
Okay, and how can they best get a hold of you, Jeff?
They can email the Community Music School. It's community-music at IUP.edu. That's generally the best way to get a hold of me. As my wife will attest, I end up living on email with all the things that I do. So that's a great way to do it. And they can get on the Community Music School website. That's IUP.edu/community music, which is all one word. And then they'll be right on our homepage. They can read about the program, the different things that are going on. And on that homepage, there's a register button that they can register into the Community Music School.
That's excellent. So, Jeff, you've also had your ear to the ground, at least, as far as what's going on with IUP Lively Arts. And from what you've told me before we came on the air, it sounds like the season is still being planned out.
It is. This is the time of year as they continue to work with agents and various artists as far as what you're going to bring in. I know that Kristen is hard at work doing that. I've seen probably at least 3 or 4 different contracts that she sent my direction to kind of look at as far as arts and education opportunities, because we're always trying to do outreach with our artists who come in for the Ovation Series. And also she sends them to our technical director at Fisher Auditorium so he can review the writer, and you start looking at costs and what we can and can't do, et cetera. So all of that, there's a lot of moving pieces, and you figuring out dates, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all in progress, and she's working hard at booking those.
You mentioned one term, and I know what it is. I know what a writer is, but for the people out in our listeners may not know what it is. What is a writer?
The writer is what the artist sends out, the agent sends out that says, hey, this is what our artist needs to put on a show. what we need for lighting. This is what we need for sound. This is what we need for backline as far as different instruments that they're not going to bring with them, like drum sets and basses and that kind of thing. So a lot of that kind of stuff we would have at Fisher, the lighting, sound, but some things we might not. And so then we would be looking at where do you go and rent those things and bring them in, and that's all part of the cost of the show.
Right. So you could work a rental agreement. You could work, hey, could I borrow this for about a week or so, or something like that?
But generally not borrowing.
Well, I say it in that regard as there would be a professional agreement in place, I would assume, if you're going to do something like that. But we've heard, and the only reason why I know about writers is because you always hear those reports about the big rock stars and some of the requirements that they have for their dressing rooms and things like that. That's on a particular writer.
It's all in there, exactly, and or it's either in there for the technical side, or it could be in the contract. That's all part of what you're doing when you're bringing in a show.
So, have you been able to figure out anything that's going to happen for the next season? Anything that we can talk about right now?
I will leave that with Kristen. That's her that's her bailiwick. She does that work, and then I stick more on the community music school outreach part of it when she's booked a show and she says, here's what we'd like to do, and then I work on that. And of course the Arts Path Arts and Education program with our professional artists doing residencies out in the community. So that's all kind of my realm.
Let's talk about that, the last point actually, the artist residencies and the other arts programs that are going on there. Anything in the pipeline?
Well, we've actually been having residencies all year. I cover 5 counties with ArtsPath.
Wow.
Which is Armstrong, Butler, Clarion, Indiana, and Jefferson counties. And we can place professional artists in schools at all levels, public and private. We can do them in senior centers, with veterans, you name it. Kind of wherever you want to use the arts in an educational vein, we can place a professional artist for a long-term residency. And we've been having them not as many as we typically have, because in many cases schools are still not quite
they're not ready to come out of COVID yet.
Yeah, there's some of them still struggle a little bit, and we understand that. So we do, but we still are placing them in schools. We've had them up in Clarion County. Had one actually I'm going to a culminating event at Freeport High School tomorrow night.
Okay.
Had a dance company working with band students up at Freeport High School for a residency.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
It sounds like so is the band providing the music for the dancers?
It's a combination. It's pretty much that, but they were also learning about dance and how the different forms incorporate into the music that they were doing.
Wow, that's actually pretty interesting.
It's pretty cool the way it connected in there.
Excellent.
And of course, we've always got an ongoing residency at IUP in the College of Ed, where we have a fiber artist that many people around here know, Sandy Trimble.
Right.
And she does wonderful residency over at the College of Ed with puppets, and these are with pre-service teachers, so that they're getting an idea of how this particular art form and others can integrate into a curriculum where you're learning about the subject matter, whether it's science or math or whatever, but you're kind of doing it through the art form of felting.
Yeah, puppetry. Yeah,
puppetry.
And amazing you talk about that, because the guy who put puppetry on the map in the United States, Jim Henson, we mentioned him yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
on our history segment. But it's amazing how that can actually work out. I mean, I would not think of putting puppetry into a science class. But there's ways that it can be done.
Sure.
And it's just the imagination that's the limit.
Well, and the other part of it, too, is if you are creating those puppets from raw wool, you're felting it. You're using a wet felting process. And what is that about? Well, that's about soap, water, that's about friction.
That's science about right
science.
There. Okay.
So there's a lot of ways it integrates in, and it really makes for a really great learning experience.
It does sound like it. So let's go ahead and backtrack here, because we are running a little bit. We're getting close to our time, but
say it ain't so.
No, it goes fast around here, Jeff.
That's right.
But again, if people are interested in the community music program, they can contact you. That email address again:
community-music@iup.edu.
And how much are classes typically?
Well, it just depends on what level of instructor. We have teaching apprentices. Those are undergrads who are recommended to teach. We have teaching artists. Those are generally our graduate students, and others who have either a bachelor's or master's degree. or they can elect, if there's more of a higher end student, they can elect to teach or learn with a IUP faculty member. So
and because
all costs are different.
And because this goes all year round, they can join kind of just about any time.
Just about any time. There's a minimum number of lessons for each semester, but it really isn't that hard to get those in. So really, they could be partway into the summer and decide, yeah, we've got time for the minimum number of 5 lessons this summer. Let's go ahead and do that, and we'll sign them up and get them started.
Jeff, it's great to have you here on Indiana in the Morning. Thanks a lot for joining us, and please give everybody our best over there.
Absolutely.
And please keep your ear to Kristen's door. We want to hear what's coming.
I'll do my best.
Thanks again. Jeff Wacker from IUP's music group, the community music group, joining us for our IUP segment here on Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank.